6 months ago, you guys followed along for Willow Grove Park contest in Planet Coaster 1. The entries were magnificent, and the final vote was one of the closest I have personally seen in a game contest. Today we are starting out again in Planet Coaster 2 with a return to Willow Grove Park contest, but this time from a different perspective. As always, I'm following along with my own non-competing park, and in today's first episode, we're going to theme a drop tower ride to fit with our new park's aesthetic. Welcome to Planko and Chill. If you like theme park gaming, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. First, I need to show you the park as it is now, which is not very built up yet, but it does show a bit of the style I'm going for. Our first park was built in honor of Agatha Willow. This time it is contracted to us by Lucas Willow, who is her grandson. The style is a bit different, and this time I'm also going for more of a rounded and kind of advanced building style. I've been getting a little more adventurous with my builds lately, and I'm really trying to show that off in this park. But of course, I'm still learning, so I'm making tons of mistakes, and there's a lot of piece count here. But this overall aesthetic of the brick and the black metal and things like that is going to be a feature throughout most of the main section of the park. The park will then split off into a left and right themed section. So the left hand side will be themed around one particular style, the right hand side will be themed around a different. The hotel here is one of my first major kind of projects I took on in this park. Other than the entrance area, the first major thing inside the theme park itself. The piece count is crazy. But I wanted to get a lot of the detailing in on this thing and give it some kind of reason to exist. This is also where the staff area is going to be. Coming around the sides of it though, you can certainly see how it lays in the landscape. And I need to do some of the windows that are a little too repetitive, but they sit in a nice position as well. And then of course over here's the chair swing, and if you go back in this area back here, this is my building pieces. I'm trying to sample as much as I can to see how it all plays out and looks. But here's the drop tower ride. And of course, I knew I wanted a crane in the park, but I really had no clue how to build one. So I went with my instincts. Instead of referencing a bunch of photos and trying to get it hyper realistic, I went with my gut instincts on it and just kind of got my best approximation of what I thought a crane would look like. And I think that's a much funner, much more relaxed way to build. If you're going for like a hyper realism or some kind of really dedicated thing, then you should definitely use reference images. But if you kind of get the basics of what you're trying to build, just be creative and be relaxed. It's all about having a fun game, and this certainly isn't a job or anything like that. So all this is a game, and I want to kind of enjoy myself. Now I did cheat a little bit here on the count, of course, for pieces. I used like solid cubes and stuff like that for like chunky structures. But then of course, I put this caging around it just to give it a little more depth and interest. And the ladder up the side, even though it would serve absolutely no purpose to anybody. And I knew also I wanted lighting on the ride. Lighting was really important to me early on in the process. I think what I'm going to eventually do with the lights is get them to blink from time to time. So that could be something that I work on as we get down the road. I think I also want the lights to have like a red look to them. Just because, they would be more or less to alert like a helicopter or an airplane or something like that there's a structure there, especially in the dark with all the black metal. I'm sure this thing's gonna have a hard time standing out. I have not dark tested the park yet. I'm gonna work on that. I like to do my lighting and stuff, after I get all the aesthetic of the overall done. But then I put some of these gears on. They're meaningless overall. I mean, they don't look like they serve much of a purpose, but they had a depth and an interest to the side. And I really toyed with the idea of coloring those, but in the end I wanted to carry this copper color from the ride up into the upper support system to create that cohesion with, the ladders and some of that side support. And then I wanted a flag on top here. And of course, the game frustrated me. There are times in Planet Coaster 2 where you really have to wonder, where are the things that would make sense? And in this case, it was flags. I know there's like a US bunting for like the Wild West, but other than that, there's no actual like flags. And and this is the midpoint of the build, and I was thinking, oh man, a flag would have been great up here. It would have looked so good. So instead I reduced it to one pole and kind of a lightning rod deal and just put a light on top. But I think overall the aesthetic of it is nice. I had this problem though. I looked at all these options for the tackle, or whatever you want to call it, the portion of it that actually contains like the pulleys and stuff and the ropes. And that's when I realized, as I was looking through the selection in the menu, yeah, I was gonna have to build this by hand. So I sat down to build what may end up being one of the more complicated things I've ever attempted to build. But I was delighted at least to find that I could reference some of the items I couldn't use. So like, you know, I can at least look at them and compare. And my delight had more to do with the fact that I think I realized really quickly I could pull this off. But it was going to require some precision that I'm not used to in the game, some tweaking. And ever since I started this build style that I've been doing lately, after watching the Plastic Swans tutorial, which I mentioned before, is this like adjustment makes you start to realize all the potential that's in the game's pieces. You know, at one time I never would have considered that I could build this assembly like this for the end of a crane. I wouldn't even wanted to try. But then just realizing it when I did this and starting out, I'm like, oh, no kidding. But you can see here how I forgot the scale, so I have to look the scale up on that rope again, because I want to take this smaller portion and scale it to the straight piece. That way the rope's diameters match when you line them up. And of course, you'll see if you watch it very carefully, my alignment was off and then it was off again. Because if you look here, I don't switch perspectives. So I go to move everything, adjust everything, grab everything, and then I go to like rinse and repeat and do the flip, and it's off. It's off by like a little bit. You'll see it here. It's when I change perspectives here, you can see it's just off slightly, right about 3/4 of the way up. And I debated real hard about just leaving it. And then I thought, no, what's going to happen is I'm going to notice that down the road, and it's going to be really hard for me to get a hold of the right pieces and shift and move them. So I thought I better do this right before I put that. But here it is. I put the piece in place up here, and I was like, oh, no kidding. This is it. There's the crane. And I think it looks fantastic. Against the skyline, this thing really looks nice. I think that this drop tower definitely fits in with the park's aesthetic and provides a great silhouette and sightline and a point of interest when you first enter the park. These types of rides scare the heck out of me in real life, but you cannot match the view that you get when you're at the top. In the 6 months since the first contest, we have seen a lot of changes and growth both on this channel and in our Discord family. The builders that will be involved this time are also content creators, and in some cases you will likely start to see a few channels playing along with their own Willow Grove parks. The rules for the contest are wide open enough that there will be many magnificent parks created along the way, and I look forward to each one. You can compete in this contest if you would like. There are a lot more people who are competing this time than the first, so the prize is a $100 Amazon gift card. To compete, you just join the Discord that's down in the description, and from there you can get the map code, the rules, and the deadlines. Be sure to say hi when you drop in so I can give you the roles. Today we're going to be working on this little restaurant corner in the back of the park, just off to the side actually, it's to the left. And here's like a little preview of it. It's a great little eatery thing, but man, the work to get here was nothing short of absolutely crazy. There was so much I had to do to get to this point. But you can see the aesthetic we're going for here, kind of wood and the black metal and some red and some splashes of color. And it's right behind this great roller coaster, which I still haven't shown you guys much information about it. You might have seen it 1 or 2 shots, but let's get into this a little bit here. Welcome to Willow Woods. If you're new here, subscribe. This is my ongoing series currently, and one that you can play along with. When I go into any new area, like any kind of place where I'm going to do some kind of building, I work first on the landscaping, and that for me is a really important and key part, because the landscaping is going to kind of set the tone. It's the canvas, you know, the canvas that the entire thing rests on. That might sound corny and a little bit diluted and a little bit full of itself, but it's true. So I do some ground paint, I put down some rocks and add a little bit of foliage here and there. And of course I've built this great, you know, park wall at the back. And I always follow the Iron Matty rule with ground paint, where you do it where places where guests were gonna compress it. So here's like a cinematic view, and of course from 2 different shots. Look at that great shot right there. So I brought over my build pieces that I'm using in the world, and then I worked on smoothing out the pathway here, getting the details in the pathing. So there's some cohesion. And then of course I moved some trees around. And then I began adding in blanks. And I just put these in for the spacing, kind of so I can gauge where I'm at with the process. Now this is sped up, I think 4x from the original footage speed, and it's something to consider just how difficult it is to plop a shop down, X out of it, start over, pull the menu back, pull the next shop in this series out. And the thing is, you've got to remember which shop you already put down, because I kind of want to get a variety of the food. And what I want to do is actually build 3 areas of shop food in 3 different parts of the park, and then interspersed bathrooms. Then of course here I'm going to work on, I want a foundation to a grid to start, and then add these build units that I have on hand that are kind of the cohesive design of the park. And I realized pretty quick I wasn't going to have the stone foundation portion sticking out like in a lot of my other builds. But I also wanted a formulaic thing, because though all the shops are going to be slightly different, I want them to all cohesively work together within the same park, the same aesthetic. Here you can see me just putting in the little touches here and there. And then I shift over to where I'm actually like situating it on the build. And the thing is, I like to start out building on the world grid and then move it into position, just so I don't get those weird angles where you're shifting stuff at a funky angle. And then I just adapt the pieces as they are onto the structure that exists. And you can see here that it's the the restaurant core. And I'm not totally satisfied with the scale on that door on the front of the building, but we're gonna go with it for right now. I think it is just a smidge short. It's not completely short, and it makes sense to like in-game peep size, but they're like right at the height of the door. It's a rather small door for as ornate as it is. And then of course, there's the sidewalls. I go back and forth on the whole thing with the windows, and you're going to see in a bit here that I get rid of them. That's one of the problems I was facing early on, was keeping things interesting across multiple copy and pastes. Because one thing to think of here, and it's a big thing, is the piece count is slowly creeping up with each of these builds. This is a lot of pieces that are involved in these walls. Because life is short, I'm not going to have you just sit through all that wall building, but I got there in the end. Now I just need to add a corner piece, something of interest. I really debated the log, thought long and hard about it, really did, and then I moved on to the iron beam because it just happened to lay at an angle, into the build, and I'm like, ooh, that looks really good. So I think you'll agree it was a good choice. Now, regrettably, I don't have the base plate showing, but I think that overall you're not going to notice that when you look at the build overall, the end result. Now, if you guys don't know me for sure, if this is like your first time at the channel, thanks so much for dropping by the video. It really helps if you make sure you hit a like on the video and comment. Comments help me understand, where your thoughts are on the build, things you like, things you disliked, whatever you want to write in the comments, as long as you're not super rude. I allow it. I'm not the type that's going to, delete a bunch of comments. I've only deleted a handful of really negative comments over the time I've had this channel. But yeah, so share your thoughts. I love to hear from you just to see how you think of things. But this roof, I'm going to tell you right now, it's another issue that I have to resolve. I hate the way it looks. And you can see me get several angles of like, does it look good this way? Does it look good that way? No, it doesn't. And I think what I was trying to do here was like reconcile it by getting rid of the windows. which they needed to go anyway. But then I used, finally, one of these concrete statue things to gauge. You know, these are really good to use. Everybody says to use these. I'm telling you guys, use them. They help you gauge the size of a peep in comparison to your build. The same with a staff member, you know, is going to be roughly the same size. And then, of course, you know, that door was now gone. I didn't feel as bad about it. It's time to put in something there, though. So I thought long and hard about this. I started out with this coffee cup, and then I was like playing with the idea of, well, what if I put a decal in this window, what a shooting star over this, and all that looks cool. It really does. I think it looks neat. But then I saw just a glimmer of what I wanted, and it was that little sign, and I was like, oh, this looks good. And of course, a writable sign on here, and you're going to see there's going to be room for lettering on the roof. So I'll be able to do lettering on the roof in a bit, but it's going to completely resolve the issue I have overall with this build. So looking at it, I was like, nope, this roof absolutely has to go, and I wanted a flat roof. And of course, you know, it was going to have the trim running around the edge of it, and you know, that's a whole thing as well. But yeah, I decided, I was like, okay, I'm going with a flat roof, but I could not pick down what I wanted as far as a flat roof. And then boom, there it was. I really feel like I hit the right spot. I had to do a lot of adjustments, so I'm going to jump over that part to where the roof is all installed to get rid of the Z fighting. So then, of course, comes time for the trim. And yeah, you can see some incorrectly aligned edges throughout the roof. They disappear with the trim. It's something you're never going to notice unless you're really studying the build hard. But let's be honest, unless I get this park spotlighted by somebody and they're super picky, they're never going to notice that. But I also have to go with something that is really easy for me to reproduce, because I'm going to have to do this over and over and over again. And I just wanted to take you guys along just maybe for this first one, because I'm really going to have to spend some dedicated hours in the game just grinding away at all these shops, because I want them to look good. And that's going to involve pretty much building them from scratch each time. So it is a process. And it's a big process, and that's for sure. So, I mean, here it is. I think that overall, you know, it has good street value. It has good curb appeal, as they say. It looks great, you know, on the approach. The pathway here wasn't exactly to my liking, so I decided to work on that a bit and kind of stretch it off into that corner, make it more interesting. And of course, some tweaking and all that stuff later with the foliage. And then I put the railing back because I was like, let's keep guests out of the danger zone over here and put some benches down. That was a big one too. Put some benches down, get some guest seating going on over here. And I'll be honest, backing up here a bit, I noticed immediately. I was like, yeah, this plaza looks like crap. It really does. It's too broad. It's too expansive right underneath the coaster right there. And for all these shops to be placed along there, it needs to be a little more interesting. So that we move on to my favorite trick right now, which this is going to get solved in the next update, but basically you put down like a staff path, right? And then you just round it and everything, and then delete it. And it leaves you this nice, pleasant cutout in the center. They're going to have a traceable delete tool that's coming in the next update. So it's going to be a really welcome thing in my opinion, at least for me. And I had a nice surprise, it dropped another coaster support, so that's one less I have to custom support. And then, you know, adding in of all the things like these rocks and the bushes and the trees, and I think a willow tree would be more appropriate here as well, like just one more. And then adding in more lamps, and the area just starts to come to life. And the evening vibe of this area is just great. You're going to see that shot coming up here real soon, is this nice evening vibe. And then one of the last little things was to shrink down this bush. And I mean, I was in love with this section. And with all these shops put in soon, it's going to be really cool back here. It's going to be really nice. I'm going to love it. So here's a great evening shot of this area. This nice vibe, this ambient atmosphere, and that ride on the left totally sounds like a chainsaw, and I might do something with that in an upcoming build. But Here you can see a great shot of this single rail coaster diving into its tunnel underneath the ground. POVs of that and the wooden one are coming. Trust me, those are coming soon. And everybody, it's Jason. I wanted to take you along for another tour of Willow Woods, some of the updates I've made to the park and some of the changes. This park is really one of my favorites, and you know me, I can build 1,000 parks, but when I get into a Willow Grove park, I just can't stop doing crazy stuff. So this is kind of an overall tour of where the park is at, the progress being made, and sort of a preview of some of the stuff, including a really awesome POV of Steel Serpent, which is the entranceway ride. Here's a nice look at the station for that ride, and honestly, here's the front angle, and this is one of my favorite build styles I think I've ever done. I know I'm not perfect with the builds, but I'm really starting to get it. And here is this crazy scene where the coaster launches up and over the entrance gate, and I'm sure you've seen that in other episodes. If you haven't, at the end of this, they're going to pop up on the screen. You'll be able to check them out and just subscribe so you can see more. But yeah, there's this giant geodesic dome at the back with a helix that goes around, and it's just great. And so here's a great POV. I'm going to shut my yap and let you enjoy this ride. This park from the entrance has a whole new look than it had before. I think one of the most notable things is here on the left, there was a swinging carousel ride, or a swings ride as we often say, and that's no more. Now there's a bathroom block here, which I thought felt good keeping with my previous park, and it kind of merges it together, Funland and this, because Funland had a bathroom on the left. There's also this twirly slide ride, you know, in the rides you would get on a mat and slide down and you're behind. Fun fact, my favorite amusement park is actually bringing theirs back in about a year or two. Then down here on the right hand side, heading off from where you come in, there was the staff hotel, and now there's a totally different building there and this restaurant, which is right near the queue line here for Steel Serpent. Steel Serpent, of course, is the ride you were on the POV for earlier in the video. But this queue line area, I wanted to be nice and shaded, have a nice safety fence there. And you know, you go through the ride, and then there's this geodesic dome, which I've actually reproduced a few times throughout the park. I'm probably going to do it a few more times. This rainbow colored one over top of the teacups ride is one of my favorite things I've built in a long while. It's very fun, very big, very interesting. And then back here is an Enterprise style ride as I continue the park off to the right from behind the finale of Steel Serpent, which is just a great ride in my opinion. And then there's this interesting ride. Now, you haven't guessed yet what the inspiration for the layout was, but keep guessing. I'm sure you'll eventually get it, and this will have its own episode. And here at the back of the park, we're going to work on all this in the next coming episodes. We're going to fill this in with plenty of buildings, maybe another coaster. I'm not making any super big promises, but you never know. And then here we have Timberline. This is one of those coasters that I haven't really talked too much about. I actually lost the footage of building it, and I figured, why touch it? So I'm going to work on the queue line and, of course, the station. And this coaster is just a lot of fun. It's going to be on Cosmic. It's actually on my production schedule now. And maybe later tonight there'll be an episode on Cosmic. I think Blinding Lights by the weekend. I think I'm going to license that. And here's another great shot. Here, this time Steel Serpent diving into that tunnel underneath the entrance to the park. And back here, the shop section. If you remember the episode where we made that shop, I never thought it would come out anywhere like this. And the observatory telescope, which I just wanted to do a domed roof, and I looked for an excuse I could, I guess. But this will be how, and we're going to add some moss, some brick defects, which came up as a suggestion on Discord, I think by comment. So awesome job. Discord's in the description, guys, if you want to come join us. This is just such a fun park, and overall the vibe, the atmosphere, it's something that I really, really love, and there's tons more coming. There's water rides, there's all kinds of good stuff. We're going to do here at the entranceway, I'm going to show you all the details to the park. So here at the entranceway, I built these two buildings, one on the left and one on the right, which are kind of really detailed for what they are. I do plan more stuff. Oh, look at this. I thought I spotted the serpent. There it is, serpent coming around. Steel Serpent is zooming around, and it's about to go up and over the launch station, which is great because this is exactly what I wanted to show off. Here it goes. So I love this feature of this ride, how it goes up and over the entrance station. This is my first vision of the park when I thought the park out was these huge gears and wheels and this steel frame that goes up and over with a coaster, you know. And originally it was an RMC style coaster, and I was like, not quite right for what I want to do here. This parking lot was provided by Loop-de-Loop Coaster, and I believe they built it. It's possible they didn't, but yeah. So anyway, this was gifted, and basically you do this contest on the Discord. You grab this parking lot and the land, and then you have to build Willow Grove 2, which is part of Willow Grove was the original Planet Coaster 1 video series, and it's a contest, and the winner gets there's all kinds of stuff. You gotta come to the Discord and check out the details. So coming into the park, so this is my version of the park, and I'm not going to submit it, obviously that would not be a fair vote, but okay. So inside the park here to the right, I have like a train, and there goes Steel Serpent right up its lift hill. Man, the thing is beautiful. Whenever it goes up over there, it's just great. And obviously I changed it to a different coaster car type because I feel like that coaster car type there is much better for the ride itself. Now here is this train that sits on a track right off to the side of the seating area here. And here's a hotel. This is Staff Hotel. If you go back far enough in episodes on this, I think like the first two, this was a totally different building, and I hated it. There's no other good way to put that. I just didn't like it at all. But here we go. Further along here is Chief Beef. And this is my new build style. I kind of like it. I mean, I do. I know I need to do some work on it, but I do like it. I think it's a good build style. There's a giant factory, and this is going to get some additions. This is going to get some really nice additions coming up in the near future. This will be one of my next projects, but here we can see kind of an indoor view. Look at this place. Oh, it's awesome. I love the vibe in this park so much, guys. I really do. This is one of my favorite parks I've ever built. And today, actually, I was working right here. This is a two-sided restaurant. I'll show you the other side in a second. If you notice the lamps all over here, this is me working on a night vibe for the park. If you remember, the crane originally had thimble in it. Today I moved it to a cauldron of fire and smoke because I think it's more dynamic and interactive. Here's Haya Sushi. Yeah, look at that. Right next to the drop tower ride, the crane. Right here. The entrance for it. There's also a little seating area back here, and if you turn around, this hot dog squad is amazing. I love this build so much. And what I'm really loving about this build style is the depth that it brings everywhere. If you look to the left, there's the builds back there. If you look to the right, there's these builds. You turn around, it's just the builds are everywhere, and they're starting to really fill in the skyline. Now for Twirl, for this little slide ride, I got to work on some of the details of the building, and I've got to work on maybe some of the lighting, the ambience. Because there's shadow here. Look at that, it goes up over the station. I love that every time. So we're going to come back here to the entrance so you don't get lost. There is restrooms here at the front of the park. If you follow my parks long enough on my channel, I like to put bathrooms just to the left inside the park usually. So here's like a roundup type ride. This is great. I'm going to work on the queue line. Maybe not as flat and desolate, maybe a building. And the exits down here, and of course on the right, Timberline. The coaster I tease all the time and never actually go through with. It's going to be on Cosmic real soon. You can ask MarVG, it's in the production planner. I built this shop in, I believe, episode 2, and it's the old build style. And while I do enjoy it, and this shop is going to stay, it was the precursor to my new build style. So I feel like it has a place in the park. Here's this build style, just kind of modular gridded buildings is what I refer to as modular gridded buildings. And it's nice. You just kind of butt them up against each other at different angles. Here I took some arches. And I apologize if you can hear my cat. She's in heat. And it's spring, so it's a long one. But video is much video, you know what I mean? Yeah, back here is a great area. This is going to go back into like a backstage zone back here. And then, of course, there's these shops here. And all you have to do is change the details here and there, like put pipes, butt the buildings up a little bit differently, make things kind of imperfect. It's more believable. Look at these bathrooms. I love this. It looks so realistic. Like, I never really thought of building like this. And then it's just, I think Plastic Swans inspired it in a video. As you can see, I'm kind of pre-thinking out a lot of my stuff back here, and I might put another coaster like in this zone here just to fill this skyline in, some steel coaster or hanging coaster or something that kind of darts around in here just to fill this skyline in a little bit back here. I have thoughts that I want to expand the park backwards and like keep going out, but I kind of want to fill the space that I have now. To add interest, I'm doing height variation here and there, so this swings ride, which was at the front of the park, if you remember, has been moved back here on a hill, and it will get a skirt around it and a nice pathway and some foliage and rocks, and it'll look fantastic. Trust me, it'll look great. Here's a Ferris wheel, which overlooks a man-made lake, and this lake, or pond, I should say, because it's not very deep, is going to be the home to something interesting. I have thought maybe coaster, maybe RMC, maybe something more slender and, you know, delicate, some kind of interesting coaster, or I don't know. I don't know yet. I have all kinds of possibilities in my head. Guys, get in the chat and help me out here, you know? I love to get some good ideas going with this space. Then back here, the buildings will continue in a ring around here, behind this claw type ride, which is really cool. And then here's some ponds, which are going to get fountains and foliage, and then these domes, which I'm really having fun with these domes. There's a tree in the middle of that waterway. But yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with these domes. You can just copy them, scale them up and down. And then there's this coaster here, Bolt, which I've been working on the entrance build for. There's a little bit of Z fighting on the left here, but it's okay. But yeah, here's Bolt. Excuse me. And Bolt's actual wait time is low right now, I believe, so we might try to go on this. I gotta work on some custom supports along this edge here, but I think it's coming along well. One thing I enjoy here, though, is how immersive the queue line is with the ride. Oh, there it goes into its routine. Yeah, there it is. It's changed out with a different coaster car, but we can catch a glimpse of it here as it crests the lift hill. Like I said, we'll ride this. There it goes. And you're pretty much centered around a very tight space here in this ride. And since no one's really guessed it yet, this ride is modeled after Impulse at Knoebels Grove. It's not a completely perfect replica, of course, but it is very similar in the elements that exist within it. There's custom supporting up across there, which covers the top of the building. Oops, I went the wrong way. And of course, plenty of expansion room for the queue line. This queue line is going to be skirted, so it doesn't look as weird and out of place. Let's skip through the pathway here. And there is no one in, there's no car in the station. As it goes up here, we got the, we got another great view here. I really hope my cat's meow doesn't translate through the video. I'm catching it in between my voice, and I'm going to try to audio edit, but I don't know if that's going to be possible. The recording format I went with was a little limiting. But you never know, I might be able to pull the audio file out of the recording. I have no idea. Look in the background, you can see Steel Serpent lining up at the station. And Bolt should be coming in. Yep, here it comes. So let's go ahead and jump on board. And we're going to get in the back seats on the opposite side, just because that's a view that's not often seen. Much like its real-life inspiration, this ride lifts you up on your back and then drops you down on your face. And there is no chill, there's no pause, it just pop and lets you go. But I just love the layout of this, and it's very active. So there's not a lot of time to catch your breath before you're in the next element, which is great. That's what I was going with on this. I was really trying hard to achieve that. Visually, there's a little bit of lag when I do these POVs, but still think, oh, look at that pine tree. I forgot all about that. All right, so let's try to get off of here. Okay. And let's drop drop away everything there. All right. Coming off that ride, we have this big dome up and over the teacups, which is really cool. This, a lot of people like this when I posted it, which made me very happy. I was happy that people liked it. It took a bit of thinking, but eventually it was just a lot of copy and paste of the components. Back here behind Steel Serpent is this Enterprise style ride with a healthy queue line. Look at that. My goodness. Does that wrap around? No. But those guys are getting close to wrapping around. Look how many peeps are in this line. Whoo. Yeah, there we go. Guys, line up. Good job. This park can accommodate a large number of guests, which is great because my computer does not seem to mind the amount of guests. I think over in Eden and over in Willow Grove, or in Eden and Funland and Coaster Hollow, there is a constant flow of a lot of peeps, and it never seems to bug my PC at all. Now, if you'd like to see a POV on Steel Serpent, you have to go back one video to see that. It should pop up on the end of this video. You'll see it pop up. Here I am working on this, which is a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun working on this. But I'm kind of getting my bearings as far as how tall of a building I want. And I think this height is not going to work because it's going to compete visually with Steel Serpent's factory, which I want Steel Serpent Factory to be like the spawn egg, the thing that led to the thing. So the buildings all around here kind of model after it, even though I would tell you honestly, the first build in the park was actually right here. Front, the restrooms. This was the original build. And then once I got the confidence, I took it, copied it, chipped some pieces off, and changed out the parts and made this. And that led to the modular pieces, which then led to the other builds. And actually Steel Serpent's building was modular. I just kept expanding the modules. And I really want to work on bumping out, like over here. See, I gotta work on that roof line there. Over here, I bumped out a piece. And it kind of feels like it makes the building a little more interesting. Not as flat, not as rectangular. And I also want to work on ride signs, so you'll know that you're getting on the Enterprise ride here. And here's going to be another build, a big one, probably some kind of shop. And eventually I want to work on like interior buildings where you walk inside of. I think that that's something that I want to start to explore. So make the outside as nice as the inside. But look at this build right behind Bolt. A lot of fun. lot of fun. Look at this. Bolt does this great stall out there when it comes up into that other side. And then comes down across into the helix. And then back around. And dives again. And that is how Impulse actually ends as well. Just Impulse is a bit more tight to that area. And there's a nice property fence, which can be expanded, of course. I think back here I'm going to put a coaster in. I think I might put a racing coaster in back here along this whole stretch from roughly over there to back here somewhere. And it'll create a nice, it'll make a nice visual across this part of the skyline. Let's pop out a peep cam and I'll just give you an aerial view. My mouse's DPI is way low now. There we go. All right, here it is, guys. So I really appreciate you tuning in. I really appreciate much love to you all. Of course, hit that like for me. It encourages me. It encourages me to make more videos just like this. So if you enjoy this style of video, you hit that like. You tell me in the comments that's what you enjoy. I make more of it. It's that simple. And if you're new here, subscribe. Most of my viewers, 90% of all my views in the last year are non-subscribed views. Huge sad face there. I want you to subscribe so you can enjoy more content. You know, because I'll pop up more on your feed whenever I produce a new video. And by all means, join us in the Discord. It's a lot of fun there. You can ask anybody. It's a lot of fun. Anybody that's there will say they love it. Yeah, I sound like somebody now when I talk like that. But yeah, just come along over to the Discord. We don't bite, I promise. And it's a lot of fun there. We have the contest going here for Willow Grove. And people like showing off on that. We also have build ranks. And a couple other fun things coming soon on there. Willow Grove has to be one of my favorite park series ever on YouTube. And honestly, I have been so excited about the return of Willow Grove Willow Woods, which is what I've been working on. But today something very tragic happened, and I don't know how I feel about it yet because it was only a few minutes ago. But I decided to make this video to let you know the Willow Woods series is ended. I was working in Funland building a fireworks show, and in my most absent-minded fashion, I deleted my Willow Woods park file. I accidentally overwrote a copy of Funland onto it. I don't know at this time if I have a way to bring it back. I'm angry. I'm devastated. It's one of my favorite parks so far. But I think it's a chance for me to do a take two and try to do better. Because there's things in that park that I wasn't completely happy with. But I had saved only one blueprint in that whole park. Because I was trying so hard to make it as authentic as I could. And I only saved one thing. And it's a small scenery item. So I'm going to take some time and collect myself and move on. I think I'm going to build a brand new park. Won't call it Willow Woods, wouldn't feel right. But it will be a Willow Grove style park. And this time I'm going to do better with it. So if you're new here, this is not the type of video you would normally get to see here. This is just a short video to just bring this news to light, so that if I take a little bit of a break from YouTube here for the next few days, you know, nobody says, are you going to be doing any videos? Because the answer right now is no. I am going to be playing another game, and possibly a surprise other game, and I'm going to be relaxing a little bit, but only for a day or two. And then I'm going to be right back at making videos, working on my plan, trying to bring something back from the dead with this park file. So be sure to hit like on this video to show your support, and put down in the comments your worst experience with doing this, because I know I'm not the only person. Help me feel better and know that I'm not the only person. And up on the screen, you're going to see some park tour videos. Those are for Willow Woods, the current series that just died. And you can watch what remains, the archive that exists on YouTube, including a very recent video. So the park that died wasn't too far off that video. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in, and sorry to have to tell y'all what happened, but I finally had my first absolutely stupid Planet Coaster moment in Planet Coaster 2. I did it once in Planet Coaster 1, and I guess I was destined to do it again. Anyway, this is Planko and Chill, and remember, no one can ever make you feel bad. You have to choose to feel bad. Have a great night.